It's Pindo palm jelly. I make this with a palm tree, the Pindo palm berries, those little orange berries that fall off the tree. Well, you can make jelly out of them. They're actually fruit. They're really good. And I make this jelly, and I don't know if you can see this, I put hot peppers in there, clumps of, it's like jam, clumps of hot peppers in there, and oh my God, it's so good. It's like orange marmalade with fire inside. I can't even talk. I can tell you how to make this, but that's a whole nother video. I'll put a link up there. Today I want to talk about, well, look, my new Clem's t-shirt. Pretty nice. I'm gonna wear it. Now, a lot of times I start the video by going to Clem's, right? We go to Clem's and I'm like, let's get some fresh shrimp from Clem's, because in the surf they love the fresh shrimp. And you're like, yeah, Sans, let's get some fresh shrimp. And you go to Clem's and you say, hey, can I get some fresh shrimp? Sans sent me. And they're like, yeah, cool. They give you some, and you go fishing and you catch some fish in the surf. Well, this video, we're not going to start at Clem's, we're going to end at Clem's. We're going to end at Clem's because we're not going in the surf. We're going for something different. Today, we're gonna go catch the elusive sheep's head. At least we're gonna try. Talk about a frustrating fish to try to catch. This sheep's head has been very elusive, but it's okay because Clem's is gonna help us out. You wanna know what I'm talking about? Come on, let's go. Get some Pindo palm jelly. I'm literally going 14 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour speed zone. Miles an hour in like a 35. And sometimes I'm doing 15 in a 45. And people are like, yeah, we're on beach time. We don't know what we're doing. We're looking for a spot. I understand, but I've got to get to work, you know? 45 is the speed limit. Can we at least do, let's say, 43? Can we do that? I mean, I'm not asking you to speed, but I'm stopped right now. I'm totally stopped. This guy's up here. And the thing is, it's a Long Island. It's not Long Island, but it's a Long Island. So if we're going to do 14 miles an hour all the way to the end of the island, it's going to take me twice as long than it would be if we could do, let's say, 35. All right, here's the split off. Kingsland. I don't know, I never remember that. Kingsland, this is it right here. So I reached the end of Kingsland, which is the ICW side of the point, the west end of the island, and I happened to go at high tide, and I did see some fiddler crabs, but as soon as I saw them, they ran into the tall grass, and because the tide was high, I couldn't get out into the muck and find and pick up any of these fiddler crabs. So I knew what I had to do. I had to go over to Sheep Island. Now, the only way to get to Sheep Island is to take a kayak or a boat. So I did get in my boat and go over there and did find plenty of fiddler crabs. The secret to picking up a fiddler crab, because there's so many of them, is to pick them up one at a time. Just focus on one fiddler crab. Don't worry about all the other ones that are scurrying away. Just look at one, pick them up, and put them in your bucket. Fiddler crabs supposedly make really good sheep's head bait. They also make great bait for black drum. So if you're just out in the kayak in the ICW or Davis Canal or in any of the backwaters behind Sheep Island or anything in your kayak, using fiddler crabs to catch black drum is going to work. I've tried to use them in the surf, but have never really been successful. So anyway, I decided to go to Southport because there is the city pier there. You cannot fish from the bulkhead, as I found out. So I was walking along the bulkhead to go down to and it seemed like a really good spot because there were rocks right below it, but I did see a sign that said no fishing from the bulkhead. And then I actually saw another sign that said no fishing from the bulkhead, and I walked a little further, and so another sign that said no fishing from the bulkhead, and I walked a little further, so another sign that said, so I really don't think they want you fishing from the bulkhead. So I was like, fine, I'm going to go to the city pier anyway. So I got to the city pier, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to be honest, as this video unfolds, I'm going to learn, and I'll share with you what I learned. I learned more and more. But one thing I knew ahead of time was that people had caught sheep's head at the city pier, and one of the people, these guys right here, were fishing for sheephead, and they had a bucket with two really nice sized sheephead. I wish I had gotten a video of it to show it to you, but you have to trust me, they had really nice sheepheads in the bucket, so I knew it could be done. I had my fiddler crabs, so I just put them on a hook. Now I was just using a regular double drop rig, because what did I know? I'm sheephead fishing. I figured it's just like any other fishing, I'll just use a double drop rig. I did know to put it down close to the pilings. The sheepshead are chewing on the barnacles or just looking for crustaceans that are on the pilings, so that's where you want to fish for sheepshead. Now, the nice thing about the pier is you can always talk to people. There's always going to be people that come up to you, talk to, and you can learn from them, and I'm going to learn several lessons on my first trip here. For one, I found out that puffer, first of all, that you can catch them off the pier using fiddler crabs. Who knew? I usually fish for puffer in the surf in March. By this time of year, they're not in the surf at all. You really won't catch too many in the surf this time of year like you do in March. But apparently, you can catch them on the city pier in August because I was kind of pulling up one after another. Matter of fact, they just were like attacking my fiddler crabs. I also was fishing with another rod and had some shrimp on it, as you can see here. So they were eating the fiddler crabs, they were eating the shrimp. And if I wanted a bucket full of puffer, I would be doing really well. But I wasn't doing very well catching the sheepshead. As you can see here, I was trying, but it was not happening. So I looked over and I was like, these guys, he's like standing on a stool. He's got his rod pointed right down alongside of the piling, like real close to it. And I'm like, I guess this is what I need to do. So I'm going to have to rethink this whole thing here and try again. So part of my regrouping strategy was to make my life a little bit easier. Instead of going down to Sheep Island and picking up fiddler crabs one at a time, I decided to go over to Mad King's because they sell fiddler crabs. So I was like, can I get some fiddler crabs? He's like, sure. How many scoops you would like? And I was like, I don't know. How much is a scoop? And he's like, that's a scoop. And I'm like, how about 2 scoops? Like Raisin Bran, 2 scoops of fiddler crabs, please. I wanted to make sure I had enough because I knew I'd lose some to the puffer, right? So then I started talking to him. I'm like, listen, these things are just avoiding me. I don't know how to catch these things. And he's like, well, let me tell you what the deal is. The sheepshead will come up from the bottom and hit your fiddler crab and actually lift it up a little bit, and then they'll come down. And if you wait till they come down and you feel that bite, you will miss them because they will already have taken your fiddler crab. And I'm like, he's like, so you've got to set the hook before that. And I'm like, this is so infuriating. How do you know when to set the hook? But he's like, that's just how you do it. And then he showed me a piece of paper and he was like, here's some of the pilings I'm successful with down at the city pier. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this newfound advice. I got a different rig set up. This one has a special fiddler crab rig on it here on the bottom, and I had a little weight up on the top. So now I'm a little bit smarter, right? I've got a different rig. I've got a brand new rig. I know to hang over the side of the pier and to drop down my rig right next to those pilings. And I even know which secret pilings to try. And I tried it, and it was just not very successful. They kept stealing the fiddler crabs off the rig. It's so infuriating. I'm telling you, this is the hardest fish to try to catch in the whole wide world because they do come up, they hit it, and they kind of lift it up, and then before you set the hook, they've already got your fiddler crab. I did manage to catch a beautiful pinfish. Great. I could catch a pinfish on, a piece of shrimp in the Davis Canal if I wanted to. But I'm trying to catch the sheepshead, but I'm trying, and I'm just not having much luck. But I was having luck at catching the puffer, still catching the puffer. I don't know how these other guys put all these nice sheepshead in the bucket and all I'm catching is puffer. I mean, look, I've got the stance, I've got the right rig, I'm holding it over by the right piling. I've got everything I need to catch the sheepshead, but instead I'm still catching puffer. I should have collected a bucket of these things and called it a day. But I'm like, no, I am determined to get a sheepshead off this silly pier right here. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back, I'm going to regroup, I'm going to get it right. So all this fishing made me hungry for fish. So we decided to go to the Southport Gourmet and Sushi bar because I wanted to get some sushi. And if you've never been there, it's over right past Walmart on your way towards Southport. And they have sushi, sashimi, shirashi, and not just Japanese raw fish. If you don't like raw fish, they also have a selection of Chinese and Japanese foods, lo mein, dumplings, all that type of stuff. So you can go in there. But I do like sushi, and I particularly like shirashi, but they didn't have a lunch shirashi, so I decided that I would order the lunch sashimi. Now, if you don't know the difference, the sushi is usually the sushi rolls. The sashimi is just the fish on the rice, and the shirashi is just a bowl of rice with fish in it. So I'm an expert, right, on Japanese food. Not really, but I do like, and this is the only place I know around here where you can really get some sushi. So the lunch special does come with soup or salad, so I got the miso soup, and then I drank that, and then my plate came, and the ladies got lo mein, boring. Come on, get some raw fish, would you? Look, and I'm such an expert. Well, here's a big old piece of ginger, some wasabi to clear out your nostrils, and I'll just pick this up with my my sticks here. And then, as you can see, I'm really very talented in that. About as good. I'm about as good as with chopsticks as I am catching sheephead. Anyway, I decided to regroup, as I said. So this time I'm going to Dutchman's Creek Bait and Tackle. These guys have got to be able to help me out. They help me out all the time. They're a great group of guys. So I went in there and I'm like, you guys have fiddler crabs in there. I don't want to go back to Sheep Island and have to pick them up one by one. And they were like, yeah, we can sell you a couple scoops of those. So I was like, yes, please. May I please have some more scoops of fiddler crabs? How many fiddler crabs have I bought? That's ridiculous. But they also had the rigs. And I'm like, okay, I had the one rig. I actually lost the other one. It got hung up, which is something that happens sheephead fishing, is you will hang up a lot on the pier, on the piling. So I decided to pick out some new ones. So I started looking through and I was like, well, there's different sizes, different colors, different weights, and so the more I looked, the more I learned. So I started saying, well, should I get this one, or maybe I shouldn't get that one and I should get the other one? And then it was like, there were so many to pick from. I was like, well, maybe I'll get that one, or should I get these two? And then I'm like, wait. So there was like different weights, the 3/0 hook, the 2/0 hook. I was like, should I get like a smaller hook and a heavier weight? Well, it doesn't work that way. They're bigger hooks, bigger weights, but I really would like to have a heavier weight and a smaller hook. Man, I don't know. So I just... And then what about the colors? Do I get white? Do I get the brown? It looks more like a crab. Do I get the pink because it's really pretty? Pink is my wife's signature color, but then I'm like, oh, I don't know if fish are going to like the pink. But then I'm like, maybe if the pink's just in the right size. I mean, this was almost as tormenting as trying to catch a sheep's head, because there were so many different sizes and shapes. And I finally asked the guy, and he was like, well, it doesn't really matter what color you get. And I was like, what do you mean? There's all these different colors. What do you mean it doesn't matter what color you get? So then I was just trying to decide the size, the hook size, and the weight. And even that was even throwing me for a loop. So I finally think I decided on these three guys right here. No, maybe not that one. Okay, yeah, we'll take that one. All right, so I decided on these three guys, and then I could go up there and I could get my bucket of fiddler crabs, and I could get back out there. But now I'm thinking to myself, maybe this Southport pier isn't the best bet. I'm going to try it, but then I'm going to try some other places too. So one more attempt at the Southport City Pier here. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try, and it was a beautiful day, which the other day it had been raining and one day it had been really windy, but this was an absolutely beautiful day. So I tried again on the prescribed pilings that were supposed to be so good, but as you can see, I was really not having much luck that day at all. I did end up getting hung up, and and so, yeah, like I said, you will get hung up. So losing another rig to it. I decided to go to Ocean Crest Pier. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they'll be there. Even though I was told they're really, like the puffer, they're going to be more inshore. They're not going to be out here. But I was like, well, if anything else, maybe I'll get a black drum off the pier, which probably aren't in the ocean this time of year either. They're probably all in the back waters as well. But I was just like, I have to try. So I went to the pier and I tried. But as you'll see here, I didn't have much luck. So then I decided, let me go on the ICW. I know a place out there. So I get out on my boat, and I'm like, I know a place out there where there's all these rocks right by the Folly Inlet. And I'm really not showing the rocks, but they're over on the side there. and so I went out there, and I was like, I'll fish on these rocks. They've got to be down on these rocks, which I do believe the sheepshead would be down there. But I didn't have any luck catching them there either. Although I did catch this little sea bass here. Of course, he was way too little, and he self-released, which was really nice. So then I went over to the bridge, because I've heard they'll be over by the bridge, and they'll be hanging out on the bottom there, because the bottom of the bridge will have barnacles and stuff there. And I tried there, and I also was not successful catching a sheephead there too. So all these places, totally frustrating. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go down to the surf. I can catch fish. Believe me, people, I actually can catch fish in the surf, even if I cannot catch these very frustrating sheephead. So I'm like, I've just got to regain my confidence. That's what I need. So I went down to the surf, and I got some minnows, and I had some shrimp. So I put the minnow on the tail there. Got a couple of float rigs I made. 2 minnows going out, some pieces of shrimp going out, and let me just see if I can regain my confidence as a fisherman, because I am a surf fisherman. Sand's in the surf, right? So I should be able to do this. Cast that out there, and let's see what I can pull in. And it wasn't long before I had a fish on the rod. Very happy to be able to catch a fish and in the surf. And are you kidding me? What? A puffer? If I want a puffer, I go down to the city pier and try to catch sheepshead. But that's so funny. What's the chances of me catching one in the surf this time of year. But then I caught a flounder, so there's my second fish I can't keep or don't want to keep, because not for another couple of weeks here. In a couple of weeks I'll be able to catch them, and I probably won't catch any when they're back in season. But he had to go back into the water there. It's a shame, but I have to let all my little flounders go that I've caught this summer. And I just kept up the good work. It wasn't too long before I had a little pompano on the shrimp real close to the surf there. He was a little guy too, but at least I'm feeling good about myself. I'm starting to catch some fish. There's 3 in a row, right? I'm having a good day in the surf. I can do this fishing thing I told you. And then a bluefish. I'm catching one of everything in the surf today. So I'm having a really good day between them. There's a lot of bait now. I'm starting to see bait in the surf. So it's August, and I'm starting to see them in the waves. We had so much wind, and the surf was so out of control the last few weeks that I couldn't really see it. But the last few days I've seen the bait starting to run. So what do we got here? We got a little spot, and what I like about spot is the self-release right there. Just self-release makes it real easy to put them back in the water. They just self-release themselves. And what else do I got? This last one right here, I'm going to tell you what, we got a nice little whiting. Yes, very exciting. This one's about worth measuring. I probably need to get out the measuring stick. And they're very slippery, so they are also self-release fish, as you may know from watching any of my other videos. There it goes. So put it back in the water. All right. Alright, I told you I was going to get a sheephead, and I'm going to get a sheepshead. Sheepshead. I'm going to get a sheepshead. If I have to get a sheepshead, I'm going to get a sheepshead. Sheepshead. Also key on pies. Yeah. So when I came in the other day, I took my video, and it didn't work, so I had to come back. I need a sheep's head.
We don't have a sheep's head.
When are you going to get a sheep's head?
You're going to have to catch myself.
You don't have any sheep's I saw the sign.
Yeah, we hadn't got one in yet. Bring down our big sign up there, but we ain't got one in.
I made this whole video about catching sheep's head, and I never caught one. So I'm like, I'm going to end the video by going here and getting, look at that sign.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sitting next to the sign. What's that say? That's a sheep's head.
Yeah, so we're going to John to get us one.
Didn't have any sheep's head. They're going to call me when they have some sheep's head. They said, sign said sheep's head. I'm going to have to come back and get the sheep's head. Okay, so I said I was going to get a sheep's head, and I'm getting a sheep's head. So here I am, I'm getting a sheep's head. Hey, pay no offense, this is not Photoshop. This is a real photo. What are you talking about? This is me getting a sheep's head. Look, I caught this in my very own bare hands right here, this sheep's head. So anyway, you got to get a sheep's head, however it is. I hope this video helped you at least realize that there are difficult fish to catch, but they can be caught. I've seen other people catch the sheep's head. So get out there, get some fiddler crabs, and try to catch a sheep's head. It's probably worth it. I don't know, maybe not.